Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. Jeremy Doku is officially a Manchester City player. Officially. It's fantastic news. It really is. £55.5 million has been agreed with the club Stade Rennes and personal terms agreed, medical complete player. Officially a Manchester City player. Jeremy Doku in the sky blue of Manchester City. I can't wait because we've seen what this guy's capable of. But where's his ceiling? What is the capacity to this player's ability? I haven't seen it yet. I don't think anyone can categorically state that this player has a ceiling that is within sight, because he is tearing up trees at the minute in lower leagues. I'll grant you that, but what can he do? Can he become a baby beast and grow to being a Premier League monster? Could he be that good? Because he looks like he could be. The ability, the skills on show with his leg movement, the wibbly wobbly legs that he's got, absolutely fascinating to watch. It's like a puzzle. The player is like an enigma. And it's so much so that this puzzle is more like a Sudoku. Can you crack the Sudoku puzzle of Jeremy Doku? That's the big question. And I mean, that's it, official now. That's done. The name Jeremy is banned on this channel. He is officially now known as Susan Doku. Okay, so I don't want to hear Jeremy anymore. Susan is his name because he's that much of an enigma. Can you crack the puzzle? And he's on the map. City have put this player on the map and he deserves it himself. He himself has put himself on the map. Joining Manchester City helped with that process. But you go to Google now, type in the name Jeremy. You're thinking, Jeremy Clarkson? No. Jeremy Doku comes up number one ahead of Jeremy Clarkson. So eat shit, Jeremy Clarkson. There's a new Jeremy in town and his name is Susan. Love it. What a player we've signed. Where will he fit in though? That is the big question. How will he fit into this squad? Because there's so many possible options. People think it's like quite simply a right winger. I've seen him play left wing. I know he can play left wing. Does that put Jack Grealish's position under threat into the sense of Jack Grealish now has to up his game because there's a player behind him pushing him all the way saying, if you don't play well, I'm taking your spot, mate. That could be the case. Kyle Walker's position's been interesting, in particular in the start of this season, because if you look at Kyle Walker and the right side of the Manchester City pitch, when we're going forward, we don't tend to have a right winger at the minute. We have Foden drifting in, Alvarez drifting in, Kovacic even tucking inside, and Rodri as well. So those four in the midfield are generally central. Meaning you'd expect Foden to be on the right when I listed those players, and on paper that's where they'd probably put him in terms of a formation. But Foden was absolutely right bang in the middle of the pitch throughout the game against Newcastle, with Kyle Walker occupying the right hand side of the pitch. I've seen Jeremy Doku play right wing back. He can play in that particular role. Personally, I prefer Kyle Walker to play there, but it could be a possible idea for Jeremy Doku to play in that role, because Pep's cooking something right now. He's up to something. He's up to something. I guarantee you, because for us to not have a right winger is an unknown quantity for Manchester City. We haven't seen Pep do this. So he is doing something. It's the tactical genius of Pep Guardiola is no doubt factoring in the signing of Jeremy Doku. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've suddenly gone for a very different type of player. The variables that are now on offer to Pep Guardiola, it's a nightmare for opposition managers to decide or second guess, what is Pep Guardiola going to do? The game that I'm about to play, let's go off the previous game. What's he going to do? Because he rarely picks the same starting 11 from the previous game, and now you're factoring in all the formations that we can play. We could possibly go back to the speedsters and try to have a bit more width with speed, similar to the Sane and Sterling days. We can play inverted fullbacks, or we could play two defensive midfielders. We could even go back to an original 4-4-2 and play Alvarez and Haaland up top together as an old school 4-4-2. The options are becoming endless for Pep Guardiola, and managers' second guessing has become even harder with the addition of Jeremy Doku, because this is a player that we don't have a player like Jeremy Doku. I'm just going to pull up his stats for those that haven't seen them already. I'm sure a lot of you already have. But 35 appearances, 1,615 minutes, 7 goals and 4 assists. Now, it needs to be highlighted that 19 of those 35 appearances were substitute appearances. They're of 2022 and 23 season at Stade Rennes. A player that's tearing up trees at the minute and is exciting. It's so exciting. His ability to beat a player is something that we don't have. Only really Foden, I could confidently put the ball at his feet and say, go and beat that player. Go and beat that defender in a one-on-one dribbling scenario, and I'd put money on Foden to win 7, 8 times out of 10. You know, Jeremy Doku, those figures go up. I'd start betting more 8 or 9 times out of 10. You know, and that's what we're buying. That's what we've occupied here with Jeremy Doku, a player that's very, very different. I think that's the key factor to take away from this signing is how different he is compared to the rest of the squad. And what he brings that the others don't is amazing and exciting, and we're going a bit different, and something's happening with Pep Guardiola. He is going to utilise Jeremy Doku Susan in a very, very different way. So I'm looking forward to seeing Susan. I really, really am. But where will he play? That's a big question. What now for Cole Palmer as well? Because I think a lot of City fans are looking at this signing and going, well, you're signing potential, okay? Cole Palmer's potential, McAtee's potential. Why don't we just stick with them rather than spending 55 million on him? I hear that argument, but what I've said prior to this is the variables that Pep now has. McAtee, Cole Palmer, we have players like that. We have players that can do those jobs. You know, Cole Palmer is along the lines, he's not as good as Riyad Mahrez, but in terms of that type of player, he can play a little bit like Mahrez, a little bit like Foden. You don't think speedster, explosive speedster with raw power and agility to burst past his fullback. We don't have a player that can do that, which is why I think Doku is being brought into the club. And unfortunately, Cole Palmer, he fits the mould of a Pep type player, but we already have plenty of other moulds that are better than him. That's the sad scenario for Cole Palmer. He wants to stay. He wants to find himself in the first team of Manchester City, though. So is he going to get the minutes that he wants? Because I think last season was supposed to be the transitional season into becoming a first-team player like Foden did. And then this season, you're going to get more minutes from him. I fear the worst for Cole Palmer. I think this does mean he's on his way out. Where to? West Ham, potentially. I kind of hope it's a loan deal. I don't want Cole Palmer to go permanently. And if he does go with a loan option to buy, stick a buyback clause in, potentially bring him back one day. He's a big Mancunian, big City fan. So it would be a shame to lose Cole Palmer. It really would be. And the other factor to discuss is the price, 55.5 million. That's not a small chunk of change. So there is a small element of risk to this particular transfer, because if his end product isn't refined, and that's the area of his game that's going to be questioned, because there is no questioning his ability to beat a player or his ability to find a pass. I've actually watched more of his clips lately and gone into more and more detail. The more I watch of him, the more his game actually grows on me. It's just that end ability to cross. Can he find the cross 9 times out of 10? Because that's what we need. Erling Haaland needs that supply. We can't have a player get into the byline and hoofing it out for a throw-in half of the times that he gets to the byline. Because getting to the byline is Haaland's bread and butter. He thrives off crosses like that. Lately, all of his possession and his ability to score goals has come through the channels, which he can do. Haaland can do that. You feed him through the channels from behind him and in between centre-back and full-back. The best goals from Haaland's point of view are goals coming in parallel to the goal line. In terms of hard and low crosses, even aerial ability. We saw his first goal of the season. That was a header coming back, a cross goal from Rodri, fired across goal. His instinct, while all the other Burnley defenders were sleeping, was him. Just lightning bolt across the face of the defenders, gets himself a tap in. Jeremy Doku, Susan, is going to be supplying all of these crosses flying across the face of goal, and Haaland laps all that up. He loves that type of supply, more so than being fed through the channels, because feeding through the channels requires more of precision from the passer. They've got to get the weight of the pass right, and it's harder to finish one-on-one than it is coming across with the face of the goal, because you can use the power of the cross to just cushion it, and it's an easy. That's why they call it a tap-in, because it's easy. It's a much easier finish and more likely to bear fruit when it comes to creating chances and scoring goals. But Susan is a fantastic acquisition. What a player we've signed here. I can't wait to see Doku come onto the pitch and tear it up. He's going to leave a trailblaze of fire behind him, and with a sky blue shirt on, I cannot wait. Blues, what do you think about the signing of Jeremy Doku? Do you think 55.5 million is too much, the right price, or have we got a bargain? It's hard to say right now, but 5 years' time we could be calling this a bargain. Where do you think he's going to play? What do you think this impact has on Cole Palmer as well? Get your comments in below. I really want to hear them. Like and subscribe. Typical City is the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now.